Welcome to Zoe Stories. I caught with pantyhose at work. I once got caught doing something I shouldn't have at work, and it completely turned my life upside down. It all began innocently enough, a simple pair of pantyhose hidden under my trousers. But when my boss, Jessica, discovered them, everything changed in ways I never could have imagined. I never anticipated the twists that would follow. Curious about what happened next? Stay tuned to find out. As I sat at my desk, fingers flying over the keyboard, I felt like I was living a double life. To my colleagues and clients, I was Samuel, the successful businessman who always seemed to have it all together. But beneath the surface, I harbored a secret, a fascination with cross-dressing and a love for wearing pantyhose, a side of me that no one knew existed. I had always been meticulous about keeping my secret hidden, never imagining I would get caught. But everything changed one day when my boss, Jessica, walked into my office unannounced. There I was, wearing pantyhose beneath my suit trousers. My heart nearly stopped as she stared at me, her expression a mix of surprise and amusement. I tried to laugh it off as a joke, but Jessica wasn't fooled. She invited me to her office, and I knew this wasn't going to be easy. Jessica had a commanding presence that always made me feel small and vulnerable. As she leaned back in her chair, she eyed me with amusement. "So, Samuel, I see you have a little secret," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. I stammered, grasping for an excuse, but Jessica cut me off. "Save it, Samuel. I know what's going on, and I think we can come to an agreement." I eyed her skeptically. "What kind of agreement?" Jessica leaned forward, her eyes glinting with a predatory gleam. "I want you to be my personal assistant," she said. "And in return, I won't expose your little secret to the entire company," she continued, her words sending a chill down my spine. The thought of becoming Jessica's personal assistant was daunting, but the idea of my secret being exposed was even worse. "What does being your personal assistant entail?" I asked hesitantly. Jessica smiled, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "For starters, you'll need to wear more feminine clothing, and I'll expect you to handle some personal tasks for me." I swallowed hard, my mind racing. "And if I refuse?" Jessica's smile vanished, replaced by a cold, steely glare. "Let's just say I hold a lot of power in this company, Samuel, and you don't want to find out what happens when you cross me." I knew she was right. Jessica was a force to be reckoned with, and I had no choice but to agree to her terms. "Okay," I said, my voice barely a whisper. "I'll be your personal assistant." Jessica's smile returned as she leaned back in her chair. "Excellent. We'll start tomorrow. And Samuel, you might want to consider more appropriate clothing for our new arrangement." The next day, I arrived at work feeling a mix of anxiety and uncertainty, unsure of what to expect. I spent most of the night racking my brain for a way to escape Jessica's grasp, but no solution came to mind. As I walked to her office, I felt the stares of my coworkers burning into my skin, knowing word had already spread about my new position. When I entered, Jessica was already seated at her desk, typing away on her computer. "Ah, Samuel," she said, glancing up as I approached. "Right on time." I nodded, trying to mask my nervousness. "Yes, I'm here." Jessica stood up and walked around her desk to face me, her eyes scanning my outfit critically. That won't do," she said, shaking her head. "What's wrong with my outfit?" I asked, suddenly self-conscious. Jessica pointed to my shoes. "Those are too masculine, and your pants are too baggy. We need to accentuate your curves, Samuel." I felt my face flush with embarrassment. "I don't know if I'm comfortable with that," I said, trying to suppress the rising panic inside of me. Jessica placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Her touch, surprisingly gentle, gave me a fleeting sense of reassurance. "Samuel, you agreed to be my personal assistant. This is part of the job now," she said calmly. "I have some clothes for you to change into in the bathroom down the hall. Hurry back. We have a lot of work to do. I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart, and nodded. As I walked to the bathroom, each step felt heavier with the weight of uncertainty. I couldn't shake the feeling of being led to my own confinement. I changed into the clothes Jessica had provided, a short, tight-fitting dress, high heels, and even makeup. I felt exposed and vulnerable, but with resignation settling in, I saw no way out. Returning to Jessica's office, she greeted me with an approving smile. "That's much better," she remarked, circling me to inspect my appearance. "You look positively stunning, Samuel." I shifted uncomfortably, the tightness of the dress against my skin a constant reminder of my discomfort. "Can we get started on our work?" I asked, eager to move past the awkwardness. Jessica nodded, and we delved into tasks that filled the next few hours. Throughout the day, I felt her gaze on me, lingering on certain parts of my body. At one point, I caught her staring at my chest and instinctively crossed my arms to shield myself. "You're enjoying this, aren't you, Samuel?" she remarked casually. My face burned with embarrassment as Jessica pointed at my crotch. I turned away, feeling deeply ashamed and incredulous that this was happening. Jessica chuckled softly and approached me, placing a hand gently on my shoulder. "Relax, Samuel," she said in a soothing tone. "It's normal to feel this way, especially since it's your first time wearing a dress." I shrugged off her hand and took a step back, my discomfort evident. "Can we please just focus on work?" I managed, my voice betraying my unease. I said, my voice shaky, cutting through the uneasy silence. Jessica raised an eyebrow, but didn't press further. For the rest of the day, we worked in quietude, the weight of my discomfort hanging heavy. My mind was a jumbled mess, unable to focus on anything beyond the way the dress clung to my body. As the hours passed, I grew more acutely conscious of the stares from my coworkers. Some whispered and giggled behind their hands, while others openly stared. The fabric seemed to amplify every gaze, making me feel exposed and scrutinized in a way I had never experienced before. I attempted to tune out the whispers and snickers, but their presence was inescapable. At the end of the day, Jessica dismissed me with a curt wave of her hand. "You can go home now, Samuel," she said, her tone icy and detached. Relief washed over me, and I practically bolted out of her office. As I hurried towards the parking lot, the murmurs and stifled laughter of my coworkers seemed to follow in my wake, a reminder of the day's unsettling events. I knew that my work life had changed irreversibly, and I dreaded facing another day in that altered reality. The next morning, I woke up exhausted, dreading the prospect of dyeing another dress. As I prepared for work, I stared at my reflection in a mirror, desperately searching for a way out of my predicament. Every escape plan I concocted seemed impractical and unachievable. Stepping into the office, I braced myself for the day ahead, unsure of how I would navigate this new, uncomfortable chapter of my career. I could sense the familiar weight of my coworkers' eyes on me, but today there was an undercurrent of tension in the air. It felt like something was about to unfold. Sure enough, as soon as I stepped into Jessica's office, I could sense her sour mood. Her eyes narrowed, and her lips formed a thin line. "Good morning, Jessica," I greeted tentatively, trying to steady my voice. Jessica glared at me, her patience clearly worn thin. "Don't good morning me, Samuel," she snapped. "You were late." I checked my watch and confirmed I was only a minute behind schedule. "I'm sorry," I've offered, hoping to appease her. "It won't happen again." Jessica shook her head dismissively. "It better not. And speaking of things that better not happen again," she fixed me with a stern gaze. "I saw the way you were looking at me yesterday. You need to remember your place, Samuel. You're my personal assistant, not my equal." Her words ignited a spark of anger in me, but I restrained myself from engaging in an argument. "Yes, Jessica," I responded quietly. Noticing my compliance, Jessica's expression softened a bit. "All right, let's get to work," she said, motioning towards a stack of papers on her desk. "I need you to type up this report for me." As I settled into my chair and started typing, I could feel Jessica's gaze piercing through me, a relentless pressure that weighed heavily on my shoulders. But then, something unexpected occurred. Upon completing the report and turning to hand it to Jessica, I noticed a change. She glanced up at me and smiled. "Good job, Samuel," she said, her eyes softening. "You're really starting to get the hang of this." Her words sent a wave of relief washing over me. Maybe, just maybe, things were beginning to improve. Later, I found myself sitting alone in my apartment, staring blankly at the TV. The events of the past few days had left me feeling disoriented and unsure about what lay ahead. On one hand, I had always enjoyed cross-dressing, and that's how this whole situation began. However, my current work environment was becoming unbearable. I loved being Jessica's personal assistant, especially since it allowed me to dress up and embrace my female persona. But was all the attention really worth it? The attention from my coworkers was overwhelming, and I wasn't sure how much longer I could endure it. I scrolled through my contacts, hesitating before selecting Jessica's name. Taking a deep breath, I typed out a message. "Hey Jessica, it's Samuel. I was wondering if we could talk about some work stuff, maybe at your place." I hit send and waited nervously for her response. Her reply was swift. "Sure, come over now." I hesitated briefly, questioning if I really wanted to go through with this, but an inner voice urged me on. Quickly changing into a dress, I drove to Jessica's house. She greeted me at the door with a smile. "Come on in," she said, leading me to the living room. We sat down on the couch, and Jessica looked at me expectantly. "So, what did you want to talk about?" I took a deep breath. "I don't know if I can do this anymore," I confessed, my voice trembling. "The attention at work is overwhelming, and I don't think I can handle it." Jessica raised an eyebrow. "What are you saying, Samuel?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I replied, "I'm saying that I don't know if I can keep cross-dressing. I love it, but the way people are treating me at work is just too much to bear." Jessica leaned forward, placing a comforting hand on my knee. "Samuel, listen to me," she said, her voice gentle. "You're my personal assistant, and I value you. You need to understand that the way people are treating you is not your fault. You're not doing anything wrong by cross-dressing. It's their issue, not yours." I sniffled, wiping away my tears. "But what do I do?" I asked, feeling lost. Jessica smiled reassuringly. "You keep doing what you love," she said firmly. "And if anyone has a problem with it, they can come talk to me." I looked at her, feeling a wave of relief wash over me. Maybe things weren't so bad after all. Jessica's words had a profound impact on me. For the first time in days, I felt like I had someone in my corner, someone who truly understood and accepted me. "Thank you, Jessica," I said, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders. "I really appreciate your support." "Of course, Samuel," she replied with a warm smile. "That's what friends are for." We sat in comfortable silence for a few minutes, and I began to relax in her presence. Then, Jessica leaned over and kissed me gently on the lips. I was surprised at first, but then I found myself responding to her touch. We kissed deeply, and a warmth spread through my body. When Jessica pulled back, she was smiling. "I've wanted to do that for a long time," she said, her eyes sparkling. I smiled back, excitement bubbling inside me. As we gazed into each other's eyes, a wave of confusion washed over me. I had always seen Jessica as my boss and nothing more, but there was something about her that drew me in. Was it the way she accepted me for who I was? I was at a loss for words, my heart racing with uncertainty. Jessica placed a finger on my lips, calming me instantly. "You don't have to say anything, Samuel," she whispered softly. "Just let yourself feel." With that, she leaned in and kissed me again. I couldn't help but respond eagerly. As our kiss deepened, excitement surged within me. Perhaps this was the new path my life was meant to follow. When we finally pulled back, Jessica smiled at me warmly. "So, how do you feel?" she asked. I took a deep breath, feeling a rush of nervousness and excitement all at once. I don't know," I managed to say, my voice trembling slightly. "This is all so new to me." Jessica placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "That's okay, Samuel," she said gently. "We can take things slow. I just want you to know that I care about you and that I'm here for you." I gazed into her eyes, overwhelmed with gratitude. "Thank you, Jessica," I murmured, my voice barely audible. "I don't know what I would do without you." Jessica leaned in and kissed me again, and in that moment, a sense of peace washed over me. Maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be okay after all. Thank you for joining us on another captivating journey through Zoe's stories. Remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a tale. Until next time, keep exploring, keep imagining, and keep believing in the magic of storytelling. See you in the next chapter.